Hey everyone, it's Logan from Cross Me Out, and today we're going to be talking about the Softube Saturation Knob. So this is the first in a little mini-series that I might do of just showing off some different plugins and showing you how I use them and stuff, and hopefully you can improve what you're doing and learn from it, and I can probably learn a little bit from it too. So the first one we're going to do is the Softube Saturation Knob. And I'm going to start right off the bat with the best thing about this. It's free. So you have to register for an account with Softube, but that's it. Other than that, it is completely free. And I love free things, and I think we all love free things. So what this is it is kind of a distortion. Now I say kind of because it only becomes a distortion in the upper parts of this knob here. And other than that, it is a little bit of an EQ. So as you can see, the controls here are pretty simple. There's the saturation knob and there's the saturation type switch. So the saturation knob just controls how much saturation there is, and at a certain level, it starts to break up and distort, and this light will start coming on when it does that, which is really nice. And the saturation type, which is a bit of an EQ type of thing. It's a little subtle, but I'm pretty sure what it's doing is if it's on neutral, it distorts all the frequencies. If it's on keep high, it distorts the low frequencies and keeps the higher ones undistorted. And for keep low, it keeps the low frequencies undistorted and the high frequencies are distorted. I'm not entirely sure, but that sounds about right when I listen to it. So here is the first instance of it that I have. This is my letter bomb cover, and if you haven't seen that, I'll put a link around and down in the description. So you can go and check that out if you want to hear these things in action. So the first place I have it is on my lead vocal. So one thing that I notice a lot with my vocals when I record them is a little bit of a lack of top end. I use the saturation knob to bring a little bit of it back in. And so we can just go ahead and listen to it, and I will turn this on and off. You can see I have it at neutral just so it brings everything out, and I have it at moderately high. So here, I'll just turn it off, and we can listen to what it's doing to the vocal on its own.
Where have all the bastards gone? The underbelly stacks up tonight.
So the first thing you'll notice is the volume. So for the first section, it acts as its kind of EQ type of thing, and a bit of a volume knob. It raises, I think, just the apparent volume. And I also have some clipping and stuff, so I can't quite show that to you. But so it definitely raises the volume, and so it's hard to A/B them, but you can kind of hear what it's doing. And so that's what it does on the vocal on its own. Is it just adds just a little bit of crispness down here at the lower settings, and we can hear that in the actual mix. If I turn it off. Yeah, so like I said, just a little bit of extra something, and obviously I've mixed it to account for the amount of volume that it adds as well. So that's the first place to use it. You can use it quite subtly just to bring out a little bit of character, especially in vocals if they're recorded in somewhere that's relatively flat. So the next place I used it is here on the viola solo. I have it in clip effects because it's just applying to the solo clip. And you can see I have the saturation knob here and some extra delay to make it really poke out. And you can see it's at about noon. It's quite high up there, and I have keep low because what I wanted was to distort the really top end of the of the viola sound. Anybody who knows how string instruments sound, they're really, really crisp and have a lot of ticky type of noises, especially the bow sticking to the string. And this really brings that out. So I have it backed up with samples, but the samples are really extra smooth, but the samples make it sound a little more full. So I'll play it without it first. So here's without the samples, without the saturation. And you can hear that like I said, those sticking noises when the bow changes directions and things like that, which are usually really unpleasant, but can kind of get lost in a full mix like this, really poke out to the front. So here it is with the samples. It just, especially when it's backed up with the samples, it just gives it a lot more character. And you can hear on and off with the whole rest of the mix. Once again, it's just getting it to really poke out and bringing it to the front a lot more. So we've looked at it in a low amount, just to bring out some high frequencies and bring out some character, especially in these vocals. And we've used it in a medium amount to bring out what normally is really unpleasant, but some sounds that can kind of get lost in the mix. And here we can see it being used in the high amounts. So you can see it's almost on full and it's on keep high. And this is where that clipping light will start to come in, and it'll start clipping in a really nice way. This is in the bridge of the song, the final outro, where she screams, "Wake up." Something I took from the Broadway version of this song. And so you saw I had the saturation knob way up, and just to tame some of the high frequencies that I'm not distorting, I have an amp simulator here with a cabinet on it set to a low amount, just to trim off some of that stuff that got added in too much with the saturation knob. I really wanted the clipping section of it, and then an amplify just to bring the volume down a little bit. So here it is, with and without those things.
Wake up! Wake up!
You heard an immediate difference. It's obviously louder because I brought it down to the right section in the mix, but also it's intense. It sounds like the speaker or the microphone just broke there. And I love that sound, especially when people are screaming, which I do in the backgrounds of a lot of my songs. So here it is in the full mix. You can hear it without it, and I'll take off the amplify. And so it should be at about the right volume. And you can kind of hear how much different it sounds and how much more power that line has. Like, you couldn't even hear that at all. Now it's going to be on. And it's about at the same volume. It's still in the background there. It's not the forefront of the mix, but it's so distorted that your brain instantly latches onto it. And I use that effect several different times in this song. So I use it earlier in the backing vocals with when both of us scream. So one of us is in one ear and one of us is in the other ear. And you can see the saturation knob is on here. And you can hear it goes from these nice clean vocals and then we scream.
When it's too late.
Which again just doesn't really have as much power behind it as having that clipping distortion being applied over the top of it.
When it's too late.
Like, for some reason, it almost sounds more like a real scream, that it's been distorted, and especially in the whole rest of the mix, adding that distortion and that crunchiness really gives it that intense punk character that it really needs to have. So
When it's too late.
So, as you can see, it's a relatively versatile plugin given the fact that it has two controls, and this saturation type switch down here at the bottom is something you just do to taste. Like, it's very hard to predict exactly how it's going to react with your signal. And so effectively you have one control, this knob right here, and it's just an amount of saturation. But you can use it in a lot of different ways. You can use it really high and get broken up effects and just destroy signals. There are other moments where I have it completely destroyed, and you'll hear that in a new song that's coming up. And so you can completely destroy songs with that saturation knob turned up near the top, and you can use it in the medium setting like I did on the viola and just bring something out, get some of that crispness back, or some of those normally unpleasant noises that really bring the human element out. Or you can apply it to some vocals that sound a little bit flat and a little bit dead in the low amounts, and it just brings some character and lets it poke out in the mix a little bit better. So, in the description, I'll have a link to the saturation knob. Again, it is completely free, which I love. There will also be a link to the Letterbomb cover and the making of Letterbomb video, which you can see in a bit more detail how I use these things and some other plugins as well. And if you want to see more of these videos, I'll be covering another one in a couple of weeks. So, if you want to see more of these videos, I have another one coming up in a couple of weeks of a different plugin that comes free with the purchase of a Focusrite interface, which I know a lot of people usually have when they start getting into recording music. And so most of you will probably already have access to it for free, which is nice. It's also not that much. I was going to do it this week, but unfortunately it's being used in a new song. So, if you want to see the plugin in action in a couple of weeks, or the plugin demo itself in a few weeks after that, go ahead and subscribe. And I know they say to hit the bell because it notifies you when I upload. And, like, comment, give all kinds of feedback. Let me know if you use this and what you use it for. I'd love to hear that. And other than that, I think that's it, guys. All right, see ya.